There is one big mistake that parents make when setting consequences for their children. And if you're making this mistake, you might find it difficult to actually follow through and be consistent. Now, there are some basic rules when setting consequences that you need to make sure and follow. For instance, making sure that the child understands what they did that was not appropriate, making the consequences relate to the behavior, and making sure that you're continually building your relationship as they grow. All of these things matter. But there is one thing that causes parents to be tempted not to follow through. And it's one common mistake many parents make, especially in the moment of frustration. And I'm not talking about yelling. It's setting consequences that will cause you at least as much, if not more, problems than it will cause the child. Let me give you an example. Let's say you want to go to the park for the day or the afternoon with the children, or maybe in the morning or whatever, and you know you have some errands that you need to get done before you guys actually get to the park. And you're looking forward to letting your children run around and play and have a good time, and they're really looking forward to it too. But you also have a deadline that you have to meet later in the day, so you know you have to get out the door by 9 a.m. So you tell your children to get their shoes on, get the room cleaned up real quick so you guys can get going. They delay and they whine about it. They can't find their shoes. Maybe they're arguing with each other, whatever, and it's already after 9 o'clock. This is the moment of frustration that I'm talking about. And again, I'm not talking about yelling. The mistake I'm talking about is this. You might say, if you kids don't get going right now, we're not going to go at all, and you guys can just stay home. If you don't yell it, it may seem like a reasonable consequence. After all, it does relate to the behavior of them not getting ready to go, right? But here's the mistake. When you make a consequence like that, it puts a burden on you. Now, to be consistent and follow through, you have to stay home. And you can't get your errands done right now, which you had planned to do. Those errands are going to have to wait, and this puts stress on you. This mistake does two things. It makes you more tempted to not follow through and be consistent on your word. And then if you don't, it makes your kids not trust what you say, and then your word won't be that effective later, which eventually makes them listen to you even less in the future. In other words, they won't take you seriously with that kind of a threat. So the mistake is making the consequence more of a burden on you than it is on the child who did the wrong thing. I'm all about helping parents stop struggling, and putting a consequence that's a burden on you is definitely struggling. So remember, before you set a consequence, make sure you think through what that consequence is going to look like to you, and what actions you're going to have to take, and is it going to be easy for you to follow through and be consistent. There are several videos on this channel to help you figure out what would be the best consequences for different behaviors, that some of them of which I've just mentioned. But if you click on the card right now, you'll see a video that's just about how to set reasonable consequences. Parents, if you're struggling, something needs to change, and you can do this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.